Well, a pleasant good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Prairie View Cricket Complex for match number 2 of the day. Matchup between the Stallions X and the Houston Kings. News from the center is that the Houston Kings lost the toss. Stallions X won, and Captain Shayan Jahangir made the decision to have a bat. I think batting conditions are such that it might make sense to bat first. Just a second. So Shayan Jahangir on strike. Cameron Sheikh is the non-striker, and opening the bowling from the Forest end is Dylan Joseph. All the principles in place, and we're on the way. Good, quick delivery. Dylan Joseph tends to be a very quick bowler. Almost in the mind of a Malcolm Marshall. Not very tall, probably somewhere around 5'8", but bustles to the crease and bowls much more quickly than you'd think. At first delivery, a little bit too far outside off stump for the liking of umpire Myron James. And the first run is on the board. Hammer it away for 4. Well, if he's going to bowl that length, he's going to have to get it a little straighter, because short and wide outside off stump to most batters is something that you can easily cash in on. And the one person who does not need any help in that direction is Shayan Jahangir. So the first boundary, once again, just very short and very wide. And all that Shayan Jahangir had to do was to get bats on it, and he pounded it through the backward point area for the first boundary. Shayan Jahangir enjoying a really good run of form in the last several months that included him representing the USA national team. So a tremendous, if we want to call him a homegrown talent, he's done really well off the back foot now. Forces this one through the covers. This might have been a better shot from the previous delivery, because this was not a bad ball. It was short of a length, yes, and just on off stump, but Jahangir going onto the back foot and just punching it, just powerfully timing it really well, and that ball raced away through extra cover for 4. So 3 deliveries into this innings, 2 legal, and 9 runs already on the board. Very full, goes over the top, but there's a man out there and he takes the catch. Wow. So Shayan Jahangir, starting out very quickly, scored 2 consecutive boundaries and looking for a third. Did not time it as well as he thought he did. And you have to give credit to the fielding side and Dylan Joseph himself with that sweeper out in the covers. The man was posted there for that exact shot. And the plan obviously came into play exactly the way that they wanted it to. The first wicket goes down. The captain, Shayan Jahangir, has to walk back to the pavilion, faced 3 deliveries, only scored 8. Those 2 scoring strokes were the 2 boundaries. But on that third delivery, he holds out to the sweeper at deep cover. So the first wicket goes down, and Shayan Jahangir has to do everything that he needs to from behind the stumps and as captain, because his day with the bat is done. And Dylan Joseph takes his revenge. So 9 for 1 is now the score. Once again, this is the Houston Premier League, presented by the Turmeric Cuisine and Bar. Just finished a wonderful, wonderful lunch presented by those folks. And all the credit in the world to them for supporting the Houston Premier League as much as they have in the last couple of seasons. And in the meantime, the new batter at the crease is Shayan Jahangir. We spoke about him a little bit in the first match this morning. Shayan Jahangir, former Sri Lankan player, plays in the minor league system as a teammate of Unmuk Chand, left-handed hitter. Very compact and very heavy run scorer. Facing up now to Dylan Joseph. Good delivery on the legs and just forced into the mid-wicket area for no run. So 9 runs on the board already. Shayan Jahangir has just faced one ball. Immediately you see that Dylan Joseph switches to go around the wicket. And just 2 deliveries remaining here in the first over. Once again, like this morning, we're scheduled for 18. Worked into the mid-wicket area. Do they want 2? They wanted to come back for 2 at least. Jayasuriya did, but just a single as he's turned down for that second run. So already a relatively expensive over from the standpoint that you'd like to keep the damage to somewhere around 5-6 runs and over through the power play. But if you offered Dylan Joseph the opportunity to concede 10 runs for every wicket he takes, I think he would take that 10 times out of 10. Quick delivery, and it's just open the face of the bat and running it down to deep third. A sliding stop, that's a good piece of work. And the throw comes back in. They get a couple. So 12 runs coming from that over. Once again, all things considered, a relatively expensive over, but he will rejoice in the fact that he's gotten rid of the captain, Shayan Jahangir. So at the end of 1, the score is 12 for 1. Twelve for 1 after 1. Dylan Joseph with the first over. Now the second over will be bowled by Ali Bangash. Mentioned Ali Bangash earlier on when we were talking about the brothers in operation in this tournament. Ali Bangash and his brother Hamza Bangash. Ali Bangash now right arm over, and this is flicked down to deep mid-wicket for a single. Once again, the power play overs in an 18-over match are the first 5 overs of the innings. During those first 5 overs, you can only have 2 fielders outside of the line. Outside of the 30-yard circle, a rough 30-yard circle that goes around the center of the pitch. As of now, those 2 fielders are down at deep backward square leg and third man. So everyone else has to be inside the circle. Outside off, a little bit too far outside off. And for the first time in this match, umpire Ryan Sechan raising those arms.
Wide ball.
So in thinking of how you structure the innings from here, you see that in a 20-over match, you sort of get through the power play as a batting side, probably hoping to have only lost 1 or 2 wickets and then build towards a crescendo at the end. That sort of plan is a little bit compressed when you're playing with 18 overs. So something to pay attention to will be to see how quickly this pair at the wicket moves through the gears. And this ball is just helped down to deep backward square for a single. I think the one thing they do have in their favor is that there is the left-hand, right-hand combination. The left-hander is Shayan Jahangir and the right-hander, Cameron Sheikh. Alim Bangash continuing, and this is whipped away. It may have the legs to get to the boundary, and in fact it does get to the boundary now. Very full, and very straight. But if you've seen Shayan Jahangir bat, you know that that's one of his favorite scoring areas. Very strong in the arc between long on and square leg, and just a little too straight by Ali Bangash. Wanting that ball, I don't mind the left arm over, but as you see here on the replay, that left arm or the right arm over angle to the left-hander is a little too straight, gets to him right on leg stump probably. So you're not going to cause any issues for a good batter on that line. You really have to get that ball going more outside of off stump. And hopefully Ali Bangash will have learned that lesson. Very full and just dropped behind square. Oh, I tell you what, had that hit, and in fact they'll end up getting more than just one run. They may get close to 4. But had that throw from backward point hit, it would have found Shayan Jahangir short. They took a little bit of a chance there, and now you see them gesturing to each other. Here, see the replay coming up very shortly. The ball just dropped to that backward point area. Jahangir looking to take off, not communicating with his partner, and that throw would have found him 3 yards short. He's going to want to make sure that they communicate a little better than that, because that's a really, really would have been a horrible way to lose your wicket. And he's played a couple of really nice strokes so far, so he doesn't want to give it away, but he almost gave it away there. Not only, though, did he not get out, yeah, he gave up. He didn't even bother try sliding his bat. But they're going to want to fix that. So now around the wicket, I think that is not a good angle at which to bowl to a man who prefers playing shots on the leg side. I think you're much better off if you're Ali Bangash bowling that ball, going across him, this one helping him with that angle to play on the leg side, and he effortlessly puts it away for 4. So a very eventful over ends in a very stylish shot by Shayan Jahangir. So at the end of 2, the score is 25 for 1. Okay, so 25 for 1 after 2. Dylan Joseph back into the attack. Hits the deck hard, and really, he bowls that hard length that hits the splice of the bat and has the batter going on the back foot. That's Cameron Sheikh defending. That's a really good stock delivery for Dylan Joseph. Now, the question to be asked is, what does he do apart from his stock delivery? Sometimes he goes short. Every once in a while, he'll try to slip the Yorker in there. This is forced off the back foot with a touch of disdain at the same time. Just timed it beautifully. The ball races away through the covers. And that is Cameron Sheikh with his first boundary of the day. He's now up to 7 from 4. And what an absolutely brilliant stroke that was. A touch of width, and gave him the leverage that he needed to open those arms and pound that ball through the covers for 4. There he goes, looking for the Yorker again, but gets it too straight and gives up 4 more. I don't mind the length. Ended up being a low full toss, but if there's a low full toss that's going down the leg side, then you're not going to prevent very many good batters from scoring, particularly with fine leg inside the circle. So consecutive boundaries scored here by Cameron Sheikh. And Dylan Joseph mentioned he was a little expensive in his first over, even though he did take that wicket. Thus far in this inning, in this over, he's already conceded 8 runs. Now, if this follows the pattern that his first over did, he would be taking a wicket here, because that's exactly what he did in his first over. Great delivery, goes past the outside edge, almost made a profit out of me. but into the hands of the keeper.
Not out.
As Saqlain Haider is the keeper for the Houston Kings. Boy. Dylan Joseph, as you see on that replay once again, just a good hard length. And if you bowl that type of length and draw the batter forward, that's the type of delivery that can assist in taking wickets. This one a little too wide now. My apologies, I got the ends for the umpires wrong. In fact, the umpire who was operating from this end, the one who was just signaled wide, is Ryan Seshan, and the umpire who's currently at square leg is Myron James. So another wide, once again, a little bit of an expensive start to the day for Dylan Joseph. Better delivery, forced into the offside for no run. Stallions X choosing to bat after having won the toss. And they're going to want to make sure that they put a good total on the board, because this feels like a bat first kind of a pitch. It's the kind of pitch that if you get stuck in, you can put a good total on the board. This again goes past the outside edge. In fairness, I think this one was left alone by Cameron Sheck. So that is a dot ball, and that ends things here in the third. After 3, the score is 34-1. So 3 overs bowled. Having won the toss, the Stallions X have lost the wicket of their captain, Shayan Jahangir. And just looking to consolidate things are Shayan Jahangir and the other opener, Cameron Sheck. Jahangir 12 from 7 with 2 boundaries. And Cameron Sheck himself also with 2 boundaries. He's 11 from 8. Overall score of 34-1. And once again, we are playing 18 overs. This is supposed to be a 20-over tournament, but the frigid conditions have caused for the organizers to take a little bit of extra time to get the field ready and to make sure that the conditions are such that the players are not injuring themselves in these really less than ideal conditions for playing cricket. In the event, the spinner coming from the highway end is Mohib Hassan Siddiqui. First delivery just knocked into the outfield for a single by Shayan Jahangir. So far the score of 35 means that they're scoring at the rate of 11 and over. So if you are the Houston Kings, you're going to want that number to come all the way down. Next delivery just swept. Really a thick under edge that trickles to square leg for a single. Siddiqui left arm over the wicket to the left-handed Jahangir and bowling around the wicket to the right-handed Cameron Sheikh. So 3 deliveries so far in this over, 3 singles. And if you are the batting side, this is the type of setup that you like, because you like for the bowler having to continually switch his line of attack. It generally tends to be a little bit more difficult to bowl to a left-hander and a right-hander at the same time. Good bowlers can make the adjustment relatively easily, but it's always a challenge for a bowler to always have to make sure that he gets that line exactly right. So for every way or in any way possible, when the opportunity presents itself as a batting side, it's almost always to your advantage to have a lefty and a righty batting at the same time. So 5 deliveries and 5 singles. They're doing it in ones so far. This also has the impact of frustrating the bowling side at consistently having to change the field. And yet another element to this eventuality of having a lefty and a righty batting at the same time. It tends to be a little bit disruptive to the batting side. And this is lofted way down the ground. That's not a single. In fact, that's 6 singles. The first 6 of the innings, Cameron Sheikh opens up his shoulders and goes big over long on to close out a very productive over. 11 runs coming from the over. So after 4, the score is 45 for 1. Back here in Prairie View, Ali Bangash has switched ends and is now bowling from the forest end. His first delivery worked away for a single. Shayan Jahangir Saqlain just getting settled and generally tends to have a very calming effect on the team. Doesn't necessarily appear to be rushed when he bats, and he is the man who, if there is a quick wicket that has fallen, he's a perfect person to come in and settle things down. Still score, still gets those runs in 1s and 2s, and then if he gets a bad ball, he can easily put it away. This is a short delivery, and it's pulled away deep to backward square. Where does that land? It went all the way for 6. So Ali Bangash testing the middle of the pitch, and Cameron Sheikh probably providing evidence that he may not want to do that again. A short delivery and just pivoting so easily, swiveling onto that back foot and playing a perfect pull shot over deep backward square for the second 6 of the innings and the second 6 in the last 2 overs. So a little bit of thinking that needs to be done here for the Houston Kings. And I'll tell you, Saqlain Haider, the captain, just making sure that his troops know exactly where they need to be. And I think he's going to want from his big fast bowler, Ali Bangash, he's going to want him to deliver more sort of stock deliveries. That good delivery at a hard length, an off stump. Make him play your good balls. I don't mind testing the middle of the pitch every once in a while, but if that doesn't work, you need to do anything but that. You don't also want a short ball outside off stump, because then Cameron Sheikh does exactly what he just did and helps himself to 4 more extra runs. So Ali Bangash being a little expensive here. You just see here, looking at the replay that I have here at my screen, forcing it off the back foot. In fairness, not the best of deliveries. Very short and very wide outside off stump. So a 6 and then a 4. Cameron Sheikh looking very dangerous now, striking it at above 100 strike rate. I'm sorry, above a 200 strike rate. He's now up to 27 from 13. What type of response does Ali Bangash have? Not a good enough response. This is going to be another 4. A better line, but still too short on that length. And similar to a shot that he played in the 2 overs ago, Cameron Sheikh just up on his toes and forcing that off the back foot, racing away for 4 more through extra covers. So generally speaking, the bowlers, the opening bowlers for the Houston Kings have been very expensive. The overall run rate is now up to 12.43. And this is really heavy scoring. I don't know that they had this in mind when they started this attack, but they're not able to withstand against what is so far turning out to be an onslaught. Ali Bangash that time looking for a Yorker and not able to find the right line because it goes down the leg side, too far down the leg side for the liking of umpire Sechan. And in fact, in modern day cricket, anything that goes down the leg side is deemed to be wide. So Ali Bangash, once again, just having to find that sort of in-between length delivery. Don't want it to be too short. You don't want it to be too full. And you don't want any width at all. So he needs to find that right line and length. That's more along the lines of what I was expecting from him. Needs to be on that length, on that line, and then make your adjustments off of that type of delivery. If you want to go full or if you want to go pace off, there's a number of different things that you can do, but you have to establish a stock delivery. And once Ali Bangash does that, I think he'll get more success. One more delivery to come here in the 5th. Full and clipped in front of the stumps, but that's a much more successful delivery and the type of delivery that can keep this pair quiet. So an end or the end of an expensive over, but the last 2 deliveries are more along the lines of what you'd be looking for. And at the end of 5, the power play is done and dusted, and the score is 59 for 1. In fact, they ran through for a single. So after the end of 5, 60 for 1 is the score. We'll be right back.
All right. We are back live from over number 6. Stallions X are off to a flyer. 12 runs per over is what they're going at. Mohib is the bowler now, and he's bowling from the highway 290 end to the ominous Shayan Jahangir. He knocks it to mid-wicket. Slight confusion. Kamran takes a couple of steps, but he is proactively sent back by Shayan. No damage done. Mohib continues left arm over. Shayan nicely on top of it. Taps it for a single 2-point. The score moves along to 62. This is another 18-over game, so the power play has already ended. Interestingly, the entire field has dropped back. I see 5 men on the fence now, patrolling the boundary. And this one is skied up. Kamran Sheikh did not middle that. He was early into the shot, got a top edge. Mohib converged on the ball. Somebody from cow corner was running in. And then amidst all that confusion, the ball falls in no man's land. The Houston Kings need to hold on to their chances, especially when it comes from the bat of Kamran Sheikh. There would be no reprise when these two get going. There's already ominous signs that they both could go big here. Shayan Jahangir has been in top form in this tournament. Started with a blitzering 60-odd in the first game. Scored a not out 48 in the second game, chasing. And he's already on 18 of 14 now. The race to the best batsman could be a two-prong race between Shayan Jahangir and Unmukh Chand. But there are so many different batsmen in this tournament. So many big names. It might be too early to call. Over number 6 comes to an end. Just 4 runs conceded, so that's one of the best overs of this innings. Good spell by Mohib. Skipper Saqlain Haider marshalling his troops. Intelligent thinking cricketer. Known for his improvised style of batting. Played a lot of cricket for UAE. Brian, you have commentated when Saqlain has been playing for Houston Hurricanes. What do you make of his batting style?
We spoke this morning about Unmukh Chand and his penchant for playing those scoop shots. Saqlain Haider not only loves playing the scoop shot, but he absolutely loves playing the switch hit. And a right-handed or a left-handed batter, but can switch around, and a ball that for a lefty would have gone to extra cover, he plays that effectively as a pull shot. So he's a truly powerful stroke maker, has shots all around the wicket, and is one, I think, of the most difficult bowlers to bowl to. Batters, rather, to bowl to. Looking for a big hit there, Cameron Sheikh. Oh, just for a second, short fine leg may have missed where that ball went. And you see the gesture by Saqlain Haider, essentially saying, come on, people, let's get this thing together. They're being a lot more expensive than I think they would have wanted to start this innings. And that run rate still up in the double figures range, around 10.8 and over. That's a better delivery being bowled here by Naeem Siddiqui.
Yeah, nice and tight. I think that's the order of play, and that's the prescription for the Kings. Kamran is looking in quite the mood. As we say, this is coming
practice.
over.
Oh!
I knew it. You heard that loud thunder. The ball landed straight on top of the commentary box. As it came off the bat, I was crouching and cupping my ears.
Well, you knew it was coming over here. The only question is, was it going to hit the glass? That was my number one objective, to make sure that it wasn't going to hit the glass. Once I was reasonably convinced that he hit that ball so well that it was going to easily clear the glass, the next question was going to be, is it going to land on the roof? And I think that sound that you might have heard confirms that it did land on top of the roof for the biggest six in this match so far.
The loud thud was amplified multiple folds in this metal enclosure.
Goodness. That is a brutal strike, Cameron Chick. Now up to 4-3. Oh, looking cheeky there. Wanting to go behind square. Not a bad option, because there's a backward square or backward point, and then short third. In fact, there is no short third. So there's acres of space in that area. So had he been able to run that behind point, he may well have gotten 4 for it. Reaching far forward. This is, I think, a better delivery from Naeem Siddiqui, just making sure that he draws the batter forward, but not in the slot where that last one was that went for 6. Looking for that big swipe again from outside off. Not making contact, and in fact, that might have been a dismissal. Did that bowl him? Or was it a stumping? Hard to tell from our angle here.
Let's look at this replay, Brian.
In fact, let's see.
I'm going to try and really slow it down, and let's see what happens here. Comes in, looks like it might have been an under edge, or was it a stumping?
But my question is, why is he still at the wickets? No, it looks like he's walking off. Or is he? No, he's not.
A lot of confusion.
Because the bowler and keeper high-fived each other, which generally means to me that there was a wicket that was taken. And then looking at that last replay that you showed here, Munir, it looks as though it was an attempted stumping.
Yeah, let's take a look at it again. It did look like it missed the inside or the bottom edge. Only thing I could think was, as Kamran is leaning in, his back foot dragged out of the crease and Saqlain stumped him. But that doesn't look like that's the case. Maybe they're celebrating dot balls now.
that may be exactly what they're celebrating. But at the end of a very interesting passage of play and something where we don't exactly know what happened, it translates to a dot ball and not much else. So, new ball. Oh no, look at this. A new bowler into the attack, and a little bit of a hesitation there almost resulted in a run out. Bowler is now Umar Hussain.
Yeah, he's the owner of this team, runs Houston Kings in the Houston Cricket League. Wonderful young guy.
Tossed up and cut away. Don't think this is going to have the legs to make it to the boundary. But Jayasuriya adds 2 more runs to his total. So I would think that it would be difficult to be the owner of a team and one of the players at the same time. What do you think about that?
There's some who have, as Omer comes in again,
bang,
a little shy, the Freebie-esque, with that little hop at the start of his run-up.
That's a great comparison, and I agree 100%. Wow.
So speaking of owners and players, Brian, you bring up a good question. Interesting topic. Amir Ahmed from Houston Stars comes to mind. He captains his team, and he's won a couple of titles at the HPL. So that's definitely a template that's been successful in the past.
Oh, where's that gone? Nailed it straight and gets 4 for it. So Shayan Jahangir is able to bat properly, and he's able to accumulate runs. But if you overpitch, he will punish you, and exactly what he did on that occasion. Just a little too full and blasted right down the ground. Clears the front leg, goes right through the line.
4 runs.
Dead arrow straight, and 4 more.
By the way, those of you watching us live right now. About 50 of you are watching this. Let us know how you're liking the new replays, the umpire gestures, the interactive stream that we are bringing to you, and tell us what additions or changes you would like us to make. We are a people's league.
Almost like a democracy.
You summon and we deliver.
Cricket coverage on demand. Well, I think after the fall of the first wicket, that the Stallions X have done really well to rebuild to the point where they are so far. Bang, down the ground, 4 more at least. Or was it 6? Went all the way for 6. Cameron Sheikh now realizes that, you know what, I've been here long enough and I can go for some shots. And that stroke brought him over the line, I believe, to his 50. Check that. 1 run short of his 50. He's up to 49 from 26. Striking it at a rate of 188. 5 4s and 3 6s. But more importantly, as the opener and as the one who was at the wicket when his captain and partner lost his wicket, has carried on in a very imposing fashion. And I think he's on track to help guide his team toward what should be an imposing total.
Yeah, Omer's Afridi-like exploits with the ball have been shrugged off with disdain by Shayan Jahangir and Kamran Sheikh. 15 runs came off that first over. Now, Naeem is going to continue from the southern end, and he bowled a steady first over, conceded 8 runs. There was just that one big 6, the impactful big 6, the vibrations of which were felt in a commentary box. Apart from that, he conceded just 2 singles. So let's see if Naeem can continue in the same tone and maybe sneak in another quiet little over. He would prefer bowling to the left-hander, being an off-spinner. He can angle the ball across. In fact, he's going from around the wicket, so he's looking to target his stumps and turn it away. Doesn't look like he's causing any problems to Shayan Jahangir, who hits it straight down the ground and comes back for 2.
Shayan Jahangir, I mentioned, his favorite scoring areas when he's hitting big are in the arc between long on and mid wicket, but he can score all around the ground, and this is knocked down the ground. So he's the type of batter who can maneuver and attack. In other words, he can make it so that as a bowler you're not exactly sure where to deliver the ball. He can play shots all around the wicket. So even though his favorite scoring options are going to be between long on and mid wicket, he certainly is able to score at will all around the ground.
Naeem comes in again to Kamran Sheikh. Nicely nudged, and they'll be content with a single. Naeem sounds like he's an exciting player. There's a spring in his step. On some deliveries where the batsman chose to defend, he's almost in the face of the batsman in his follow-through.
It's kind of funny to see a spinner with that sort of a mindset. But that one single, by the way, brought Cameron Sheikh to his 50. So he's at 50 from 27 deliveries, 5 4s and 3 6s. A good start to his day with the bat so far, and a long way to go in this match. And there is Jahangir in his favorite scoring area again, pulled away in front of square. Square leg had too much work to do to his right, and that is a brilliantly struck 4 by Jahangir.
Let's take a look at that wonderful pull shot from Shayan Jahangir again.
4 runs.
Short, slightly turning away. Gave him too much time, Brian, I think, to execute that
4
shot.
runs.
Naeem comes in.
There he goes in this area this time. No one out there, landing 2 yards maybe in front of us here at deep extra cover and then rolling over the boundary. So consecutive boundaries. Going back to that last shot though, as a spinner, when you go around the wicket to a left-hander, what you're trying to do is get that ball full, drifting in and then pitching and leaving the lefty. But that length was just entirely too short, and you're right, it gave him all the time in the world, Jayasuriya, to rock onto that back foot and plunder through his favorite scoring area. So don't mind going around the wicket to the lefty, but that's only part of the formula. The rest of it has to be executed. And that brings up the 100, by the way.
Yeah, it's looking ominous from Stallions X.
Mm-hmm.
100, not even we're not even done with 9 overs yet.
And look at that ball racing away through backward point for 4 more. So Jayasuriya himself is now getting in on the act. In fact, he's been in on the act already, but consecutive 4s to end things out or end things in the 9th. Score now moves up to 104 for 1. If we were in the prediction game, Munir, we had this conversation this morning. It's a similar sort of setup to exactly what it was this morning. 9 overs up and the score is 104 for 1. You and I both know that much of the scoring in a T20 match happens in the back end, assuming that there's wickets in hand. This is the sort of scoreline that could read above 200 very, very easily after 18.
Exactly, Brian. And like we said, that's almost subject to one of the players batting deep and getting his eye in and then going big. But in this case, I can see there's so many batsmen in this lineup, the likes of Nitish Kumar.
Oh, my goodness.
Ehsan Shah, who we saw hit 4 wonderful, towering 6s. Shubham Ranjane. So they are a packed batting lineup. And with 9 overs to go, I think they all have a license to go after the bowling now. 9 overs, they could get 100 with 9 wickets in hand. They could go even to 220, 230.
Very easily. So obviously I think the Houston Kings have their work cut out for them. When you're bowling to a side that has that type of firepower behind it, it's going to be, I think the formula is just to make them score off of your good balls. Just try to keep that ball, I keep saying it, just short of a length, just an off stump. Make them play you from there. If they bang you away for 4 through extra cover from that type of ball, then you tip your cap and say, you know what, you got the better of me. But don't overpitch, don't bowl too wide, too short, down the wicket and planting it over wide or wide long on for another 6, Cameron Sheikh. And unfortunately, I think this is going to get out of control very quickly if you're not able to control the onslaught being performed by these two. Just note that he was skipping down the wicket. Obviously, I think Saqlain Haider, the captain behind the stumps, one of the best glove men in all of the country. Just very skilled, but no fear shown by Cameron Sheikh. No worry about being stumped. Looking again to work it into the leg side. And all they get is just that 1.
Arir Ali, by the way, Brian, hails from Houston and is another one of those 32 emerging talents under 21s. Has learned and played all of his cricket here in Houston.
Yep.
Local coaches have worked on this player. And like we were saying that from the inception of that U19, which has now graduated into U21 over the years, he's again one of those players who was pre-drafted by a franchise. So, big expectations. Young boy, and there's some confusion. Throw comes in and, Arir couldn't collect it cleanly, I think. Direct hit might have had him.
A direct hit would have had him, I think, but giving Arir just a little bit too much to do to collect that ball and then try to effect the run out. The one thing I would like to highlight, though, is that you'll note that umpire Myron James was square of the wicket on that run out appeal. So good piece of umpiring. I don't think that gets said enough. Jayasuriya going into the covers but cannot defeat that man at cover. Umpire Myron James, then umpire Ryan Sechan, currently at square leg, overall, I think the umpiring in these tournaments, not just today's tournament, this is reverse swept away for 4. Jayasuriya getting in on the act. But back to the point, I think the umpiring contingent led by Owen Brown, and then of course I won't start calling names because I'll eventually forget someone and I won't hear the end of it. But for me, that stands out in a unique way for tournaments in this country. The umpiring contingent here in Houston has always been so strong, always so professional, and I think adds a lot to the professionalism in the game, that you can be aware or be assured that you're going to have competent umpiring as you go through this tournament.
Very true, Brian. And as Houston Premier League, I think that's something we had been committed to and started laying groundworks for a few years back. And the inception of this concept started with recruitment of Owen Brown.
Brian Walters, no.
Brian Walters' recruitment into the panel happened yesterday. So that ties in as well as Shayan Jahangir, like clockworks, just punches one through covers and that goes to 4. So yeah, Owen Brown has been a wonderful leader of this umpiring panel. And it's not just the on-field responsibilities that he plays so well, but even behind the scenes when we're looking and reviewing the tournament rule book and working out a lot of numerous different fine-tuning aspects of this tournament. For instance, this morning, the morning temperatures were in the 20s, in the high 20s, and we knew that this could jeopardize a lot of things, and we were putting safety and well-being of players at risk. Owen Brown took that call, being that head of the officials, and we decided to use that grace period and start the game slightly late, giving players extra time to warm up their bodies and get ready for the games. And now, as the day's play has played out and we are approaching, the middle point of the second game, we realize how well all of that has worked out. So that's the experience and the foresight somebody like Owen possesses.
I could not agree with you more. Ooh, looking to force this again off the back foot. This is Naeem Siddiqui back into the attack, if I'm not mistaken.
This is Shahid Afridi Light, Omer Hussain.
Omer Afridi.
Omer Afridi.
Short. Oh, whatever his name is, if he bowls short and wide like that, he's going to go for runs. He's going to want to get that ball a lot fuller and a lot straighter, particularly since he's bowling from the forest end. The wind is coming from the forest end. So if you get it straight and have the player and full and have the player playing down the ground, there's every chance that that ball will be held up in the wind. But bowling short and wide is probably not going to do very well for you here.
Again.
And oh my goodness, that was a catch. I think it carried all the way to short extra cover. But the catch not taken. Not an easy catch. Those are never easy. But playing at this level, you'd like to think that you'd have held on to that one.
Yeah, Kamran would be gutted with himself. Short and wide. Almost a half tracker.
Yes.
He could have put that in any part of the ground. And he finds that one fielder. He's looking ominous, though. He's up to 62 of 32 with 8 overs to go after this.
Whoa, Jayasuriya changing his mind mid-stroke. Wanted to go big, and at the last second checked the stroke. That's a mark of a good batter. Short, and it gets the treatment. He didn't change the stroke that time. You cannot bowl that length and that line to Shayan Jahangir in this mood, or any mood whatsoever, because what will happen is exactly what just happened. You target his favorite scoring area, wide mid-wicket, and you get 6 more.
Yeah, as you see, he again probably was trying for a googly, but drops it shows short. There's enough time for Shayan Jahangir to put that anywhere he wants, and he went for that deep mid-wicket boundary. So Omer has got the parts about the Shahid Afridi run-up and the number 10 jersey identified, but everything thereafter is it leaves a lot to be desired.
Mm-hmm.
Here he comes again. Tries a quicker one. I think that might be a better option at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And a dot ball to end the over. After 11 overs, it's 130 for 1.
Oh, going back to the action. Another 6 from the bat of Cameron Sheikh. Ali Bangash taking up the attack from the highway end and lofting it well and truly over mid-wicket for another 6. That is his 4th 6. In fact, his 5th 6. In fairness, this ball was absolutely in the slot, and all that Cameron Sheikh had to do was play through the line, dragging it a little wider, so sailing away over mid-wicket for 6. I'll tell you what, this is really, really starting to look ominous. Score now up to 136, and we still have another 41 balls to go. So if you wanted to play the what-if game, Munir, to get to 200, they only need to score 8 runs and over from here. And there's 6 of the 8 again. Consecutive 6s to start this, the 12th over. And this is truly going to be a difficult endeavor for the Houston Kings, because they are being slayed all around the Prairie View Cricket Complex by Cameron Sheikh.
So, Brian, to your question, what if I didn't want to play the what if game? I've realized in due course of time I'm really bad at it. As Ali Bangash goes around the wicket.
Oh, look at this. Looking for the 3rd consecutive 6. Did he get too greedy? You see his reaction walking off. I think that he just told himself, I had 12 runs in 2 balls. I could have worked the ball around and got more. But the ball not quite there to be hit. And full credit to Ali Bangash to keep him playing on the front foot and holding out to that fielder down at long on. Straightforward catch, waist height, cups it without any problem, and that is the 2nd wicket to go down.
I think if we look back at this replay, you'll realize what his undoing was the fact that the ball was just so wide outside the off stump, and he was trying to pick it up from wide outside off stump and go over long on. So obviously he didn't get the range. But that also brought back memories of Houston Premier League 2018, where we saw Kamran Sheikh for the first time. And he blew our minds by the amount of helicopter shots he played in that edition. He didn't. I don't think he brought that out this year. This was the first instance I saw him try it out, and it did not work. But he's somebody who's known for all these kind of strokes. So he gets out after a really good innings, a hand of, I'll confirm how much he scored. There you go. It's on your screen now. He gets out after scoring 74 of 35 with 6 fours, just some grocery shopping. And with With that, as we see the new batsman on the crease now is
Nitish Kumar.
Nitish Kumar, another big name, Brian.
Yep. Spent a fair amount of time north of the border playing his cricket in Canada. And these days is living on the Premier League circuit. This one just helped down behind square. Coming for the second run. That's out. That's got to be out. Gone. What a brilliant piece of work from the deep. That is Dylan Joseph with a direct hit from about 50 yards away. Pick up and throw and knocks the stumps down. Only, in fact, had one stump to aim at from that angle. But a direct hit sees the back of Nitish Kumar for the first time today. Munir, I think our commentator's curse actually worked.
Yeah, let's take a look at this replay, Brian. The last ball, I did feel that Nitish and Shayan is an unmatched running pair. As I think a direct hit and really good work by Saqlain too. He realized the ball was heading into the stumps.
He didn't touch it.
He pulled out at the very last moment.
Yes.
And that, I think that really made that difference of a fraction of a second. So that's a big wicket for Houston Kings.
Wow.
He comes from north of the border and he felt at home today in this freezing cold. But his last at the crease doesn't last long. As Nitish is dismissed.
So, an interesting over that just completed. 17 runs coming from that over. Make that 15 runs coming from that over. Make it 16. So, the score is 146 for 3. 16 runs from the over, but 2 wickets. So, you do make some inroads into the lineup. Shayan Jahangir is still there. 56 from 31, 8 fours and a 6. And that brings to the wicket Shubham Ranjane. $146 for 3 is the score. We have completed 12 overs, so another 6 to go. Check that last ball of the 12th and run down to deep third for a single. So that does now complete the over. 146 for 3. Maybe I was just a prophet and didn't even know it. So 146 for 3. Ali Bangash with an expensive over, but he does pick up, but at least his side picks up a couple wickets. He takes one and then one via the run out route. That is the end of 12. The score is 146 for 3.
You're watching Houston Premier League. It's brought to you by Turmeric Indian Cuisine and Bar, located in Katy, right across from Costco Wholesale. Do check them out for your dinner plans or for your catering needs. Turmeric Houston Cuisine and Bar. Welcome back live. As you can see, this Manhattan graph is all tall buildings. It's been one-way traffic so far up until that last over, which also conceded some runs, but Kings got 2 good breaks in that over. Now, Omer comes back in the attack. And just like the last over, it's been dispatched again, no matter who the batsman is. It was Kamran Sheikh last time, now it's Shubham Ranjane. Shubham Bryan also is looked at as a fearsome finisher in the Stallions X lineup. We saw what he did in the last game, which was played at the same ground. He, I think, scored a good 40 at a strike rate of around 220, 15 balls for 40 runs. So he's really an aggressive player, and he can really go big at this point in time.
It's going to be 4 more consecutive fours to start the 13th. If Long On had some work to do to his left to try to get to that last one, I think he was left breathless and, in fact, didn't make much of an effort to move to his right to get this delivery that pierced the gap between Long On and mid-wicket. So Shubham Ranjane living into the role that has been described for him by Munir. 34 balls remaining in this innings, and the score up to 154 for 3. So we have a long way to go, Munir, but I started playing the what if game. 6 runs and over from here takes them exactly to 200. 8 runs and over from here takes them to 215. So let's say if we were to split the difference and say 7 runs and over, as that ball is forced into the outfield for a single, 7 runs and over takes them to 208. So let's play a game. And I need an answer not just from you, but from Basker, who's acting like he's not listening to me. Where do they end up? Give me a score.
With 5.5 overs to go, 33 deliveries, my guess is 80 more runs.
80 more runs.
80 more runs.
Wow.
Of 33 deliveries.
That's
and it starts with that boundary. So
wow.
32 and 81 now.
Wow. So you're looking for 80, 155, 80, 235. Okay, I would have said a number that was lower than that. In fact, I'll give you my number. No, I won't give you my number yet. Basker, what's your number?
Let's hear it from Basker.
It's more closely 230, 240.
Wow.
The reason still we have Shayan Jahangir, right?
Shayan Jahangir, yeah. My number would be 214. Down the ground, I may have to revise that 214. As Shayan Jahangir on cue blasts it over extra cover for yet another boundary. So 159 and counting. Shayan Jahangir means business. He is up to 60 from 32 with 10, make that 64 from 33 with 10 fours and a 6. So I may have undercooked my guess, but I'm not going to change it because that would just be not right.
This over reads like a palindrome. 44144. Read it backwards or forwards, it's still the same. But that dot ball
spoils the point you were just making.
Yes, so I was holding on that thought for some time. But that over ends with 17 runs. Omer has gone for 43 in his 3 overs. At the end of 12, in fact 13, it's 163 for 3.
Wow. Back to a frigid, windy Prairie View, Texas. Dylan Joseph back into the attack. Oh my goodness, his first ball back is treated really disdainfully. To be fair, that almost looked like a loosener. That wasn't anywhere near as quick as he can typically bowl. But you can't bowl a loosener halfway down because that's just meat and drinks for any batter, not the least of whom is Shubham Ranjani. He now moves to 14 from just 5 balls faced with 3 fours.
Yeah, and one thing I do notice is it's a change of end for Dylan Joseph. I don't know if that's a good idea given the wind conditions. He got used to one end of the ground. Now he's got a different challenge.
Just picked something up, and I don't know if we can find it on replay. He almost appeared to be struggling with his run-up right before he released that ball. So that might be what you're talking about when you're running into the wind. As an opening bowler, obviously with a bowler with a lot of pace, you're accustomed to having your captain give you the ball and have the wind at your back, which is much easier to bowl conditions are easier to bowl in. But if you're running into the wind, that absolutely upsets your rhythm. And just looking at him here, that's a little smoother. But still, I don't think he's completely comfortable. Jayasuriya just picking him off, and they're going for 2 more. He's going to have to run, but does not. The throw a little bit wayward. A more direct throw might have had Jayasuriya in trouble. But as it is, he gets there without much fuss.
Yeah, the throw was slightly off the mark. I think it was touch and go had the throw been on top of the bails.
So the throw was wayward, plus it was not very strong. So I bet the throw very well could have had him in trouble. Oh, look at Jayasuriya playing that dab shot. He absolutely loves that shot. Again, one of his favorite scoring areas. Just running it off the face of the bat. Luckily for the Stars, or the Kings rather, that ball went directly to that man at short third. That easily could have gone for 4 otherwise.
I like what I'm seeing with Dylan Joseph. A bit of Tinu Best in his bowling action.
Ah, what
that
a
load
great
up.
call. Bang, where's that gone? In the air forever. Oh, I lost track of it, sorry. But they do get a couple more. Tina Best is a good call. I think they're similarly built. Tina may be just an inch or 2 taller, but a good hustle, a bustling run-up, and a lot of energy through the crease, and both bowl, of course, with real pace. Earlier, I compared him to Malcolm Marshall, but I forget that I don't know, 15, 20 years older than the rest of you here, so that makes a bit of a difference. But he is a hit-the-deck type of a bowler, and unfortunately, it looks like he's stretching, so I don't know if he's starting to have a little bit of an issue with the cold. And this is going to be knocked away in the deep for 4 more. I suspect this may be his last over. He didn't look very comfortable in those last 2 deliveries, and he may be struggling with something. And in fact, you see him having a bit of a conversation with umpire Myron James. I would not be shocked if he does not bowl anymore the rest of the day. So that is the end of the over. 14 done, the last 4, and the score is 177. "24 balls remaining in this innings. The score is 177. I am easily the least talented. Oh, look at this. Lofted down the ground. 1 or 2 bounces down to long on. I started saying I'm the least talented in terms of predicting a score because my prediction is much lower than the other 2 in this commentator's area. And it almost sounds like I'm going to lose out on this effect, or on this effort, rather. Shayan Jahangir taking a single from that first delivery up to 67. Shubham Ranjani, 21 from 8. And he forces this one to deep extra cover for a single.
So, given we are in the last round of the group games, the onus is upon us to get you live updates from all the other simultaneous games happening, and we'll come to them after this ball.
Oh my God.
He buys us time, Brian, to give you the updates as the ball is going to take some retrieving. Thank you, Shehan, for supporting our cause. So, the do or die game between Knight Riders and Raiders Unlimited is going on PV6. Knight Riders are 134 for 2 in 15.3 overs. They're batting first, so Raiders it looks like, would have to chase down a big total. Norman Anwar is betting on 70 of 47 deliveries with 6 fours and 2 sixes. And the other game that's going on is Kingsmen versus Houston Stars as we come back here. Shayan again, and that's a misfield. He had it covered, but he kind of overran it and slips. I think he has hurt his knee. Yeah, that's unfortunate. It really looks like he slipped and twisted his knee. So that's going to be a slight interruption. Everyone's rushing in. Going to that other game in the meantime for Kingsmen and Houston Stars. Stars are 142 for 3 in 17.1 overs. Andres Goss now. Unmukh Chand didn't tick off in this game. He was dismissed for 4 of 9. But Andres Goss has compiled quite an innings. He's batting on 70 of 45 deliveries, well supported by Sujit Gowda, who scored 38 of 28. And with the bowling, Harmeet Singh has bowled a miserly spell of 4 overs, 1 for 14. Those who were at the gala, we did mention that in the 2012 World Cup, he went through the entire tournament with an economy rate of 3, and he's doing the same here in this game. Now, also, what's very important at this point in time is the points table, because a lot of qualification scenarios do hinge on this point table, which is coming up on your screen now. So it does appear that from Group A, Kingsmen and Houston Stars have qualified. They're only playing for first and second place, but it does, if you look at this table, Houston Stars have to win this game in order to overhaul Kingsmen, because there's a big net run rate difference, which doesn't come into picture as such if we have a result in that game. So either of those two teams, the winner of this game would top the table. Coming to Group B, Stallions X do appear like they are already in the semifinals. And the winner of UMMC Knight Riders and Raiders Unlimited, the game that is going on right now, goes through to the semifinals. So it's safe to say, Brian, Kingsmen, Houston Stars, and Stallions X are in the semifinals. And the winner of UMMC Knight Riders and Raiders Unlimited will join them as the fourth team in the semifinals.
Those semifinals start tomorrow. I hope that you all will join us for what I think is going to be an exciting weekend of cricket. And just going back to a discussion from earlier, maybe 10 or so minutes ago, Suraj Chowdhury chimes in with his own guess and thinks that the score is going to be 220. So Suraj Chowdhury, his guess is more in line with mine. Both of you were out there on an island by yourselves. But if Shayan Jahangir Saqlain keeps doing this, very honestly, he may exceed what both of you have already guessed. Driven down the ground again. More work in the deep. So that fielder who was at long on is the one who was hurt. Unfortunately, had to be helped off of the field, and so there's a substitute in replacing him. Shayan Jahangir Saqlain does not care about any of that because he's continuing his onslaught. He's now up to 81 from 41, and he knocked him over. That is a good delivery to close things out here in fact, to start the 16th over. Full and straight, and the middle stump is pegged back. So a big wicket. Shubham Ranjane goes for 22.
He's going to be proud of this dismissal. A classic left arm orthodox spinner's delivery. Lands middle and leg, flighted, turns and takes the top of off stump. Left armers love to see something like that.
He will write home about that delivery, because that's exactly what you tried to do delivering from around the wicket, slanting it in. The wind is sort of coming from almost a easterly direction, so that would have helped a little bit with the drift. And then it pitched and turned, and that definitely helps the case. So that is the scoreboard is a little bit incorrect, but just again looking at that replay, drifting in and then pitching, straightening and taking out middle stump. You accept those types of deliveries all day long. And the third, make that the fourth wicket goes down. Would you all like to revise your guesses?
I'm going to stick to it just for the fact that Shayan Jahangir is still out there. That's my take. So Shubham Ranjane, apologies we displayed Nitin Kumar's graphic, but Shubham is the last batsman who was out. He scored 22 runs, a brisk 22 of 9 deliveries.
Wow.
Coming back live as this next delivery is bowled. Shahan gives it the charge. Dylan Joseph continues from highway 290 end. So it does look like, Brian, you guessed it right initially. He is struggling. He's been stretching his hamstring.
Yeah.
It could be cold cramps, it could be anything, but he's just laboring through and trying to complete his spell. And
laboring through, and I said earlier I didn't think he was going to bowl again. I think it's testament to his dedication that he's attempting to bowl a skies one, a catch for the keeper and captain, and that is the back of Shayan Jahangir. And so when you dedicate yourself to the cause, as you see him there again stretching that right hamstring, and you ignore what's bothering you and continue to try to ply your craft for your team, good things can happen. And the fact that he's on now bowling his last over sees the back of Shayan Jahangir. So that is a big wicket in the context of this game, as Jahangir goes for a well-played 80 from 42, 11 fours and 2 sixes. But my goodness, that is a big wicket.
that changes all the calculations and the equations. And like I've been saying, that predictive score, a lot depends on one of the set batsmen going through and playing out those death overs.
I am hearing the most political of justifications coming up. I didn't ask you all that. I said, what was your score? You said 235. You said Basker 240. What was my number? What I said? 214. All right, Suraj. That was precise. Suraj Chowdhury thinks 220. It'll be interesting to see how this turns out. I'm just saying the person who wins our little wager here, Suraj, I'm sorry, you're too far away, so you're not included in this. The person who wins our little wager here gets what? A laptop? How are we doing this?
Laptop we can share, right? We need to give 2 laptops.
Here's Dylan Joseph again, over the wicket this time, and this blasted down the ground, but there's protection there. Just a single. So all of a sudden, Munir, this has a different feel. This innings has a different feel from what it did, say, 1 over ago.
Yeah, but at the same time, Brian, with Ehsan Shah is the new batsman who's walked out. And we remember those 4 sixes. Now, re-gauging that whole discussion, there are 14 deliveries remaining. I think the least case scenario is 25 runs. That gets them to just over 220. So, Suraj, you're on in that case. But 13 deliveries now to go. There's a possibility they may even explode and score 30, 35 runs. So both cases are possible.
Sure.
If I'm again sounding diplomatic.
Yes, you are.
But the 220 plus to 230, anything between 220 and 235 is still on. But 5 wickets have gone down too. So in the nerve of diplomacy, another wicket or 2 could really bring them to 210 or 215.
Catchable. Who is there? Oh, it falls in no man's land. And a single. It's a lot of excitement for just 1 run.
Actually, this over has pulled back so much for the Kings.
Yes.
Went for 6 runs
Mm-hmm.
and got that big wicket of Shayan Jahangir.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this over may, in the overall context of things in this innings, may make a difference of 10 to 15 runs,
If not more.
if not more. Because that wicket was Shayan Jahangir.
Yep. Well set. Former Sri Lankan international and able to score runs in bunches. So when you see the back of him, yes, I take your point about Asan Shah. And he can be a big hitter. The new batter at the other end is Waka Salim. But when you have someone who is well set and that person is out, any new batters have to take a few minutes to come in to sort of reacclimate themselves to the conditions and get settled. And you don't have time the way you'd want to get settled. So only 12 deliveries remaining. Score of 196. What make that 197? Very full. In fact, a full toss, knee height. And Shayan Jahangir would have slapped that away for either 4 or 6. This is only bunted back to the bowler for no run. Advancing down the wicket, opening the face and running it square of the wicket for 4. So that makes a big difference. Mohib Hassan Siddiqui getting that one just a little too wide. I think the length, I don't mind him bowling that length, particularly from the forest end where the wind is blowing and blowing behind him. But that line cannot be too wide. And looking at this, just a little too wide on that last delivery and conceding 4 runs.
And we displayed the, as this is nudged, couple of fielders converge. 200 has just been breached.
Wow.
So earlier we displayed, just now we were showing you the tournament leading charts. And it's been a 2-pronged race between Unmukh Chand and Shayan Jahangir. And like you just saw, Unmukh after 3 games is at 224 and Shayan is at 196.
Apologies, go ahead. That one lofted down the ground just for a split second. Dylan Joseph, I think, had thoughts about charging in to try to catch that. And he ended up in no man's land, as they say, and tried to then pick it up on a short hop, not able to get to it, and the ball eludes him for 4. A reverse sweep looking to come out. We've seen that shot played a few times today. Just results in a single here. 207 for 5. And this is the second to last ball of the last over of the second to last innings. Lofted down the ground, catchable. Simple catch taken. And that is the end of Waka Salim, if I'm not mistaken. Jogs off after holding out in the deep. And Munir, I mentioned this a couple times. The wind is blowing from that end. So if you as a bowler can induce the batter to hit the ball in that direction, there's every chance that that ball will be held up in the air. That's exactly what happened. And another wicket goes down.
So 6 wickets down now. Mohib has finished his 4 overs, 40 runs and 2 wickets. In the context of this game, going by how Mohib has finished his spell, conceding 40 runs and taking 2 wickets. In the context of this game, it's been quite a decent spell, while the other bowlers have gone and conceded in the range of 12, 13, 14 runs and over. He has bowled at 10 runs and over and picked up 2 wickets. I think the captain will accept that.
Absolutely. So now the only question to be asked, with 6 deliveries to go, what are the odds of the Stallions X scoring 7 runs in this over, which would make me the winner? 13 runs in this over, which would make Suraj Chowdhury the winner. What was your guess again?
Sorry, what?
I won't even ask Basker because they need to score about 45 runs in this over to get to his number.
Cricket is a funny.
Brian, I stand by my diplomacy. It was subject to Shayan Jahangir batting through the innings, and he got out.
I did
Just
not
around.
ask you all of that.
But let me ask you this, Brian. You're so precise on 214. How and why was that?
When you're as intelligent as I know, Mr. Stuff, it was just, very frankly, it was just a raw guess. Stick outside the edge, and that's 4 of them. So my number all of a sudden is being threatened. The first delivery in the 18th over flies away behind points for 4. Oh, the chances of there being 3 runs in 5 balls in the last over is probably not realistic. So, you know what? It's like the price is right. Yep, I got you. Okay, so 5 balls remaining. The score is 2-11. Ali Bangash. Slow delivery, and it absolutely gets the treatment. Good night, Brian Walters. Wow. Ali Bangash is a good bowler, but he will bowl many better balls than that last one. It's a slow, loopy full toss that absolutely gets hammered. Flying all over the way for 6, and that brings the score now to 217. So 2 deliveries in the, forget the guessing games, 2 deliveries already in the 18th over have yielded 10 runs. So the Kings have some work to do here because they need to pull things back from the Stallions. Jeez. Lofted. Couple fielders converging on it, Dylan Joseph being one of them, and he probably had the best chance of catching it but couldn't do so. And they get 2 more runs out of the deal. In fact, check that. They only got 1 run there. So the ball stayed in the air for a very long time. You have to wonder if a more fit Dylan James or uninjured Dylan Joseph rather, would have been able to get to that. Quick delivery, forced down the ground to long on for another single.
Ali is putting in a lot of effort in his deliveries. We can hear a loud grunt
Yes.
come through that field, through the glass in this commentary box.
Mm-hmm.
He had a really good last HPL season.
Yorker length, and Dylan has some work to do, and in fact he gave up very quickly. So that's a fielder down at deep mid wicket who does the work, saving Dylan the trouble of running on what I think is a bad hamstring. Just a single. So somebody joins the conversation a little bit too late. Sumanth, forgive me for not being able to pronounce your last name, says there will be 19 runs. That is struck down the ground, 1 bounce, and the throw coming back into the bowler's end. Well, Sumanth, if you meant that 19 runs were going to come from the last over, you were 4 runs short. But look at that final score, 2-2-2 for 6. Listen, 2-2-2 is still a very, very good score. And the Kings, after having conceded that, are going to, I think, have to bat out of their skin to get to something close to that victory. So 200, in fact, I might have been inaccurate on that. The scoreboard says 221. Let's go with what the scoreboard says, 221. So that is a very imposing score. Maybe we thought it was going to be a little bit higher, but at the end of it all, that's going to be a very difficult score to chase down. And we'll take a quick look here, Munir, at the scorecard.
Yeah, Shayan Jahangir dispatched his first couple of deliveries for boundaries, and then he was out the next ball. Kamran Sheikh came to open the innings. That was Ehsan Shah's role in the last game, but Kamran was pushed to open, and that paid rich dividends. Kamran scored 34 of 35 of 74, pardon me, of 35 deliveries. Some huge sixes came off the bat of Kamran Sheikh, and one down Shayan Jahangir walked in, and he was in blistering form. He continued where he left off last evening, scoring 80 of 42. Nitish Kumar was an early casualty to the bowling of Dylan Joseph. Shubham Ranjane played a good hand of 22 of just 10 deliveries, and Ehsan Shah closed the innings brilliantly well, scoring 22 of 8. So 2-2-2, a double Nelson is what the Kings would have to chase. And I'll pull up the bowling card now for the Houston Kings. Dylan Joseph opened the bowling. He was really good with the new ball. He ended with 4 overs for 41 runs, bowled a couple of good death overs, but I think the onslaught from Kamran Sheikh and Shayan Jahangir was too much to take for some of these bowlers. Ali Bangash conceded 58. Well, he was wayward and off today, Brian. An off day for him, but overall we know what he's capable of, so he'll take that in his stride. The spinners were all dispatched. They treated them with a lot of disdain. Mohib Ehsan was the pick of the bowlers, it seems, looking at the scorecard, going at 10 and over and picking up 2 wickets. And Umair, Naeem and Arir all went in excess of 12 runs and over. So at the end of 18 overs, 222 is the target, a required rate of 12.2 runs per over. Brian, what do you make of the chase that the Kings would have to come out and do?
It's going to be a stiff chase, and we'll take a quick break in a second, but I had to go back to 2 comments that I just heard. Number 1, Suraj Chowdhury chimes in, I win. And Suraj, we cannot take anything away from you. Well, good news and bad news. Good news is you win. Bad news, you don't get a laptop. Sorry, you had to have been in the studio to be able to get that.
The winner is Brian Wallace.
And then Suman says, I blame Hassan for that. After getting 10 off 2, he could not manage 9 of 4. He won't be a finisher in my team. So as we take a short break, we'll come back for the second half. Please join us in commentary, meaning your comments are very useful and entertaining. Very honestly, we all in this booth love each other, but we can't always listen to each other talk. So some additional comments from you all are always welcomed. So maybe a quick 5-minute break or so. Then we'll be back on air for what promises to be an exciting chase, where the Houston Kings have the small target of 2-2-2 to take over in 18 overs. Signing off for now from Prairie View. We'll be right back.
So we're back live from the Prairie View Cricket Complex with the Houston Kings chase. As you can see their roster on your screens right now, the under 21 players, Arir Ali and Thanaf Wasi, are the two players who have walked out to start this chase. So really good intent from Houston Kings, trusting their young talent and pushing them to go and take the bull by the horns, Brian, so to say.
Chasing down such a large target is not an easy thing to do. But this will pump each of these youngsters full of confidence that their team has trusted or entrusted them with setting the table for what they hope will be a successful run chase. It's not going to be easy. They need to score at the rate of 12.33 runs and over to win this. But I've seen both of these youngsters bat, and even in adult leagues, they can score pretty heavily. So I think I'd like to see how well they do. And it's never going to be a bad thing if you get help with free runs. And this first one is fired down the leg side by Amir Shahzad. Left arm over the wicket, bowling to Thanaf Wasi. First delivery results in the first runs on the board.
Now keep an eye on Shayan Jahangir behind the stumps. Watching him orchestrate his troops.
As you say that, look what he's doing right now.
Exactly. And I've been noticing him since the start of the innings. He's one of the captains who's really involved in his field placement. He's always thinking, trying to stay ahead of the game as Amir Shahzad steams in. Nice and full, but it's swinging and it takes it down the leg side. Another wide. This is, mind you, Brian, the battle of keeper captains.
Yep.
Shayan Jahangir and Saqlain Haider. Both are huge names in their own right. Shayan, much younger, it seems, to Saqlain. But he's a thinking brain, and this captain led the Stallions X setup to the coveted Houston, in fact, US Open title just a couple of months ago. So, yeah, he's coming in with a lot of success.
So a couple of things. First of all, first run off the bat here as Thanaf Wasi defends it to mid-on, and they run through for a quick run. Couple of things in response to what you just said. Number one, you're absolutely right. I just looked at the replay here in our booth, and that ball is swinging. That last delivery that was adjudged to be wide down the leg side started out on the middle and off line. But that swing that's being generated is tremendous. Secondly, you mentioned the matchup of the two wicketkeeper batter captains. Sumant again chimed in and said, I wish Kings play a little fearless cricket and Saqlain Haider entertains us a little like he does. Saqlain Haider has it in his capabilities, as another wide goes down the leg side, to inject excitement into this game. And if they're going to make a serious threat at running down that 222, you suspect that Saqlain Haider will have a lot to do with that.
Absolutely, Brian, and it's a big total they're chasing. It's their last game in the tournament, like we've told you. He now comes around the wicket, trying to find his bearings.
Interestingly, that was not given as a wide, so probably it might have flicked off of the body of Ali.
On behalf of the Houston Premier League, want to thank, I'll come back to that. Want to take a moment to thank all you all who are live on the broadcast. Again, he's getting a lot of that shape, that classic left-hander's action. It's all going down the leg side at the moment. Arir gets across for a single. So coming back to my train of thought, I've been noticing all these wonderful comments pouring in And that's a lot of motivation for us volunteers
Yes.
who are sitting in this red trailer in the middle of this wonderful Prairie View Cricket Complex. And it's motivation when you guys are interacting with us and supporting the tournament. Again, everything he's bowling is angling into the pads at this point in time.
So I will say, and in no way am I comparing myself as a bowler to Amir Shazad, but we both played the same role, opening left arm fast bowlers. Every once in a while, that ball is just swinging too much for you to control, and if that happens, what I found to be helpful was just to go a few cross seam.
Yeah.
Go cross seam, don't worry about swing, and just try to get it on the right line. If you keep firing the ball down the leg side, as is happening now, you're literally giving away free runs. You don't want to help the batting side gain momentum, and you absolutely don't want to bowl extra balls and concede extra runs. So something that he could potentially think about.
There have been 4 legal deliveries and 4 fights in this over. Amir Shazad comes again. Nice and full. Good work by Shayan. Good collection.
Yes.
Whipped the bails off in a flash.
Yep.
But Brian, you being a left arm seamer,
Yep.
one thing I don't agree with, if you're getting too much shape and it's ending up in the pads, it's basically the radar, the angle at which you're bowling.
Correct.
Going around is even going to exaggerate that
Exacerbates that.
angle.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. If anything, it's helping you swing it down the leg side even more. Oh, look at that shot. Nobody out there, and it's a pickup shot that sails away for 6. Tanaf Wasi, again with that ball swinging down the leg side, particularly from around the wicket. You are helping him to play that shot. In fact, my apologies. That was actually Ari Ali who played that shot. You're helping the batter to play in that direction from around the wicket with that angle. Number one, the angle is going down towards the leg side. And then number 2, the swing is taking it even further down the leg side. So I'd prefer to see him stay over the wicket. And hopefully, as I mentioned, one thing that he could consider is gripping the ball cross seam so it doesn't swing. But going around the wicket absolutely exacerbates that. So some thinking that he has to do here, because I don't think that that's the way to get where he needs to get.
Absolutely, Brian. And also that shape is a weapon if you use it the right way.
Yes.
You're starting on the stump, so it's ending down the leg side. Just move your bearings a couple of feet or feet and a half outside the off stump so that you end up right in line with the stumps, and that LBW swinging in and wrapping on the pads or going through the gate, all that comes in. So now Shayan Jahangir comes in from the south end, the north end. I've lost my bearings. Talking about Amir
which
Shahzad.
one of us lives here? Of course, Shayan Jahangir, very experienced cricketer, loves bowling in the power play, and is generally very accurate. So 3 straight dot balls to start his spell.
So in that gala night, Brian, if you remember, we had a little FAQ, a fun little section for our audience. Shahan continues.
Wow.
Swept but straight to that 45 fine leg. Nice placement by Shayan. So we had a fun bit, an FAQ about Shayan Jahangir as he comes in again around the stumps. Short delivery. It's been dispatched. The fielder is getting across. Good work by Nitish Kumar. This is easy pickings for a guy with his level of fitness. Covered 30 yards on the boundary within a fraction of a second and threw it back to Shayan. So I kind of lose my train of thought, but I've been trying to mention this for the last couple of deliveries. About Shayan, we mentioned he made his international T20 debut for Sri Lanka. Come back to it after this delivery. It's a dot ball. He made his T20 debut against Pakistan. And in that game, he picked up the wicket of Shahid Afridi and scored 40 runs on debut. So he's quite a quality all-rounder in this form of the game. He, of course, packs a punch. For Sri Lanka, in his international playing days, he played the role of a finisher. He used to bat at number 5, 6, 7. But in the minor league and even on the private tournaments he's playing, he bats at number 3. And oftentimes you see him come and bowl in the power play because he's known to dismiss batsmen when they're trying to get after him, and he gets crucial wickets. Man with the golden arm, if you must say.
That's a great summation of his capabilities. Now, interesting, we'll see whether or not any change has been made. Bowls a better line this time, Amir Shahzad. Now, I've noticed that a couple of times, once in this last over, and then with the first delivery of this over, he stutters steps a little bit before getting to the crease, which tells me that he's not measuring his run-up right. And also, we've mentioned that he's running into the wind from this angle. But just looking at that replay, that ball is swinging tremendously. And so if he would just get that radar right, and I think I love what you say about aim at the wide line outside off stump. If you use that as an aim, everything will be coming in towards the stumps because he is swinging it prodigiously. And he can be a real handful from that angle over the wickets.
Great point, Brian. And the thing is, this white ball is going to do that for the first 3 to 4 overs. If you've got someone in your ranks capable of doing that, you have to use it the right way. You cannot spill it down the leg side. Just because you're not getting your bearings right, you try and negate that. You're using your most important weapon, because once those 3 overs pass, it's going to be one-way traffic. We have seen that for the past 3 to 4 games. Use that new ball to get an early breakthrough.
You're 100% right, but then going back to a previous point that we just made, how about the confidence shown in both of these U21 players, knowing that the ball is going to be swinging and entrusting them with the responsibility of seeing off that new ball? Of course, you want them to score runs, but it's more important, I think, in the context of how this innings is going to need to be structured, that you have the batters who come down the order, 3, 4, 5, 6, to be able to play with a certain amount of freedom. So what you're asking Arir Ali and Tanaf Wasi to do is, look, if you score 6 runs and over, wonderful. But the better thing we need you to do is to take this innings deep. If you score 8 runs and over, and then get us through the power play, and then you have a compressed game with wickets in hand, so the batters who come afterwards, 3, 4, and 5, can actually go for their shots. That is a tremendous amount of confidence that's being placed in these 2 youngsters.
I'll throw a different perspective at this, Brian.
Okay.
The emerging U21s in each team, I think they're the most well-equipped to face swing and challenging bowling, apart from the pros, of course, who have played first-class cricket. Reason being, these are the boys who are working with coaches. They're facing machines which can swing the ball both ways. Both of them are students of Sushil Nadkarni.
Sure.
They work with him one-on-one on their batting technique. They're playing 200, 300 balls a session, some swinging in from a machine, some going away. So that's their bread and butter. And they should be, after all that training, be able to come at this level and face the likes of Amir Shahzad.
My goodness. It's helped around the corner for a single. So going back to the previous conversation, Miss Sana Hazratji, am I saying that name properly?
Mrs. Shayan is what I call her.
Mrs. Shayan. Mrs. Shayan, first of all, thank you for your comments, and now it makes sense. Even though I prefer to not say that word on air, it does make sense now that I know who you are. Lofted down the ground. This is Tanaf Wasi, and the ball is going to land safely out of the reach of the fielder jogging across. I have to say he was jogging. There was not a lot of effort being put into that potential catch. And he jogged across and kept the damage to 1 run. I wonder if Amir Shahzad would have preferred for him to go a little bit more aggressively towards that ball.
Amir Shahzad is in his second over. At least he's got that different idea we were discussing all this while. He's now angling it outside the off stump. But now one challenge he's going to face, and him being experienced enough should know this, is when that ball stops swinging, it's not going to come back into the batsman. And now the new challenge he has to put up against is wides outside the off stump, like we just saw.
Now, if you're going to bowl wide, it's way better to bowl wide outside the off stump than down the leg side. Quick single taken here. These two youngsters really are playing, I think, the role that they're being asked to play. Whoa, that one was really wide, just again looking at that replay. And I think Samantha agrees with us. Maybe they don't trust their senior player. So, I don't know that that's the case, but it's an interesting opinion, Samantha. 19 runs on the board, 2.5 overs of 18. So we'll get into the required rate and all of that in a second. Struck right back to the bowler. Look at that catch. Phenomenal reaction catch. Return catches are always difficult, particularly if you're a fast bowler running through the crease. And Tanaf Wasi, even though he's a young man, is a very strong man, struck that back with force. And in his follow-through, Amir Shahzad takes an absolute blinder. The first wicket goes down. Tanaf Wasi goes for 5 from 10. The score is 19 for 1.
So, Amir Shahzad, we're going to make this worthwhile, your time. I luckily was able to capture a replay of that catch. And we are going to talk you up on the replay. You save this for your grandkids. Here it comes. I'm going to slow it down. We won't talk about the wides.
Just clip this one section.
Here comes Amir Shahzad. He's teaming in left arm over from highway 290 end. He's been swinging it back into the stumps. Into his delivery stride. The ball shapes into the batsman. Beautiful swing. He punches it back and he pulls it out of thin air, Brian.
Absolutely
Amir Shahzad. Take a bow, sir. What a catch.
That is not an easy catch. Again, as a fast bowler running down the wicket, it is never easy to react appropriately to a ball that's struck right back at you. But to be able to do that and then actually jump and cup it with both hands all in one motion, just a spectacular, spectacular catch. Boy, he's going to want to see that a number of times, I'm sure.
That last clip is doing the rounds on the WhatsApp groups, on Houston Cricket League. It's going to show up on Instagram stories.
I am sure of it.
Houston Premier League creating moments to cherish.
Oh my goodness, what a great, great catch, has to be said. Shayan Jahangir Saqlain back into the attack, looking to sweep this down the leg side. Appeal for LBW, but umpire Sechan is not interested. Looking to target that area over square leg. No one in the deep there. And coming forward and defending is Arir Ali. So interesting promotion here. Ali Bangash batting high up the order. Usually he plays the finisher role, but I think they've realized that there's some runs needed, and they're going to want to make sure that they take advantage of his, Ali Bangash's, hitting ability.
A big appeal, but I think it's going to be difficult to get that LBW from around the wicket. It's at most times landing outside the leg stump.
Or missing off.
Or if he's pitching in line with the stumps, it's really got to turn back in sharply to head back into the stumps.
So he would sort of have to be like his countryman, Mutai Muralitharan, to get that ball from that angle to pitch on and then straighten enough to hit the stumps. And that's not an easy delivery, particularly on a pitch that doesn't appear to be taking much spin. Whoa, for a split second there, Ali Bangash was winding up for a big one and ended up not going after it. But in his mind, you know he has to be thinking, when do I go for it? Which ones do I go after? Struck on the pad again and an appeal for LBW, but I think exactly as we said, Munir, these deliveries are being delivered from around the wicket, from a right-hander to a right-hander. So it's almost guaranteed in that equation that it will either be missing off or it's pitching outside leg. That is the end of the over. At the end of 4, the score is 20-1.
You're watching Houston Premier League 2023, powered by Turmeric Indian Cuisine and Bar, a new establishment in Katy, Texas, located right across from Costco Wholesale. Come down to the restaurant and mention Houston Premier League and avail special discounts. We are now back live from Prairie View Cricket Complex. There's the Highway 290, all the bustling traffic in the backdrop. People headed to Austin, like a good friend, Brian Walters, who for a personal engagement is going to drive back tonight and come back for the semifinals. Tremendous commitment, Brian. The fact that you keep doing this for so many different tournaments, you command a special place in Houston cricket. Just talk us through your engagement with Houston Premier League over the last 5 seasons or so.
I have been told that I am just the pretty face in the group, and the real work is done by people like you. Oh, flicked away behind square for 4. That is an elegant looking shot, but not a good delivery. Slanted down the leg side and easily clipped away for 4. I don't know that we've announced the batter who is, yeah, in fact we did. It was Ali Bangash. He got the ball exactly a little too straight, did early. And that's Jaskaran Singh Buttar, who's bowling, going down the leg side, and the youngster just helping that one on its way. But in all seriousness, back to the question you asked, I consider myself and will always consider myself to be a part of the Houston cricket community. Get back to that after this delivery. Well defended. No run there. So obviously I lived here in Houston for 22 years, from 1982 until 2004. Moved to Austin in 2004, but have maintained all the relationships that I've had in this area. And even though, I stopped playing cricket a long time ago, but the best years I had playing cricket was right here in Houston. And so, if nothing else, I'm a fan of cricket in the area. And somewhere down the line, somebody said that they liked hearing me commentate. And when that happened, I'm only happy to pick up a mic and lend my contribution to the effort. But again, I have the easy part. The difficult part is from people like you who are doing the groundwork, making sure that the arrangements are made, communicating with the various authorities in and around cricket, tangentially or directly, and making sure that this event takes off. Something like that does not happen at all without your presence. If you want to call and bounce something off of me, I'm only happy to give you my opinion. But I think the hard work is done by you and everybody else on the advisory, not the advisory, but on the management team. Those of us on the advisory panel are happy to give an opinion if it's asked. But again, the difficult thing and what I think really makes this tournament go and grow in stature as much as it has for the last several years is because of you all.
If all of that you just described, Brian, is the flesh and blood, the skin and the cosmetics and the appearance comes from what you do for us. So I think collectively we all make this happen.
let's just say that I love the opportunity to come down and watch some good cricket. By the way, so you mentioned that I was going back to Austin after this. I will tell you 100% it's out of selfishness because my son, who was a great young cricketer in his younger days, is now an up-and-coming soccer player, and he plays for his high school, playing against one of the biggest rivals that they have tonight, and I did not want to miss that match. So I'm driving back to Austin tonight, watch that match, and I'll be back down here. Look at this shot down the ground. Arir Ali. Oh my. Taking on the big fast bowler and knocking him back over his head for 6. I'll get back to me and my son in a minute, but we have to say what a shot that was by Arir Ali.
One of the best shots we have witnessed today, and that includes the like of many big names who played on this ground. That was reminiscent of the Virat Kohli, the World Cup back foot,
What
short
a
of length
great
delivery.
comparison. Similar type of delivery and a similar result. Maybe this one actually had a hint of disdain about it. Kohli's was maybe a proper back foot cricket shot, just lofted. This one had disdain all over it. And to treat a big fast bowler like that, I guarantee you the next delivery that he faces from Jaskaran Singh Buttar is not going to be one that he can hit back over his head. Tremendous shot. Wow.
But Brian, coming back to Jaden's soccer game,
Mm-hmm.
Jamaicans and their love for soccer, or I'm a purist, I still call it football. I just
Yes.
haven't been able to absorb, just rebranding football, what we watched, grew up watching, different Premier Leagues and the World Cups. And that's a beautifully smashed 4. The bowler Jaskaran Singh. In fact, it's a new
Actually,
over, so
Mm-hmm.
Jaskaran bowled out the last over. We've kind of lost our train of thought.
I think it's Nitish Kumar.
Nitish Kumar.
Want to make sure, I believe that's who that is.
Yeah, you're right.
The board will be updated shortly. So back to you. Football, soccer. You're not old enough to be forgetting, losing a train of thought like that. Leave that to old guys like
I've been
me.
switching back and forth from cricket to football. But yeah, I'm an avid Manchester United fan from since I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
Early schooling days, I watched the likes of Fergie's class of '92. That was my first real interaction with the game. The likes of Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, and that whole batch.
Okay.
David Beckham. That wonderful team which won them so much. The rivalry from back in the days with Newcastle and the Arsenal of Arsene Wenger. How things have changed, and the oil money has come in and bought clubs, and now, and in the meantime, see Brian going back and forth, we dismissed a great piece of play there. But I've captured the replay.
Well, looking at the replay, I think you will see that there was an element of premeditation about the shot for Ali Bangash. He completely decided ahead of time that he was going to come down the wicket. And so had he been in his crease, that would have been a half tracker that he could have hit anywhere. That probably would have ended up right here next to you and me. But he premeditated, made up his mind to come down the wicket, and ended up missing what I think was a delivery that he could easily have scored off of had he not run down the track. So the second wicket goes down, just an easy stumping to be completed there by Captain Shayan Jahangir, and an easy dismissal. Ali Bangash will be very disappointed with what just happened there. So the second wicket goes down with 1 ball remaining here in the 6th. The score is 38 for 2, and look who's coming to the wicket. The aforementioned captain, wicketkeeper batter himself, Saqlain Haider.
The experiment with Ali, I think he was sent to up the tempo.
Completely.
He was sent to use the long handle, but he scored 6 runs of 9 deliveries with just 1 boundary. But with the inception of T20 cricket and how well batsmen have innovated and started to hit some really good hits, I'm not really a firm believer anymore of that concept of pinch hitters, because traditional batsmen are playing the kind of shots which I think are as good as we saw the likes of Shahan Jayasuriya, Onumuk Chan bat at strike rates of 230, 240. So Saqlain Haider makes sense to me in this moment in time. He's somebody who can improvise. He can put bowlers off their line and length. He can make the fielding side change their plans. It just depends whether he ticks, because they are now under pressure.
Definitely under pressure from here. Munir, they need to score at the rate of 15 runs and over to win. To have to maintain 15 runs and over for 13 overs is not an easy thing to do. If you come down to the last 2 overs, you need 26 to win or 30 to win. That's doable in some instances. But to maintain that rate, that scoring rate over multiple overs, over almost 13 overs, that is never going to be an easy thing to do. And look, there's somebody in the comments who both of us will know very well. That famous laugh of my friend Brian Walters. Great going, guys. Who do you think that's from?
Kaka, as we all lovingly call him. He's the Kaka of Houston cricket community, Yogesh Patel. We missed you at this year's gala, Kaka.
Yogesh, really always good to hear from you in any context. I've always said, and this is how far back we go, I've always said that Yogesh Patel was the bowler that I had the most trouble with in Houston. For the length of time, the only time I ever scored off of Yogesh Patel was once, and tell me how strange this sounds. I opened the batting and he opened the bowling in a match once, HICC versus CICC. I'm not an opening batter by any stretch of the imagination, but I had a plane to catch literally, and so they said, all right, go go open, and then after you get out, you can leave. And Yogesh opened the bowling, and he was actually bowling seam. That was the only time I've ever scored off of Yogesh. Every other time, he made me look really, really foolish.
The thing about Yogesh is I've been seeing him for at least 15 years in this league, and he still looks the same.
Absolutely.
And I think it ties back to his charming personality, his friend-to-all approach in the Houston Cricket League and beyond.
Yep.
And what a privilege it is. I'll come back after this delivery. Nice and full and a diving effort, but it evades the fielder, and sweeper cover comes across to keep it down to 2 runs.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a privilege that we've got the likes of Yogesh alongside us, still guiding this cricket community. And his presence has meant so much to so many young cricketers. The default chief guest for every cricketing event in Houston. That's the stature of the legend of Yogesh Patel.
I've referred to Yogesh as this ball is just defended into the offside for a quick single. I've referred to Yogesh as the conscience of Houston cricket, and in many ways the conscience of USA cricket, because he's sort of that North Star, the one who, regardless of what other else is going on, to reorient to say, hey, look, we need to get more emphasis on kids playing cricket, or that action that I just saw just now, I don't need for that to be part of cricket in this country. He is a person who you can always rely on to give you strong, unbiased opinions about what needs to happen on a cricket field and in a cricket organization. I relied on him a lot years ago when I was on the board of the USA Cricket Association, and he's just a tremendous, tremendous cricketer and a cricketing mind. And more importantly, somebody who you can always lean on in any aspect related to cricket and otherwise.
Most definitely. Really, since the arrival of Saqlain, is rotating the strike and trusting his senior skipper to lead this innings to a respectable total. Houston Premier League is obviously a celebration of Houston cricket and the pathway we have created for so many youngsters, not just within the HPL perspective, but as a cricket community on the whole. And the foundation of all of this really goes back to the time when nice and just short of good length, really quick delivery, good take by Shayan. The appeal was theatrics to put some pressure on Saqlain, an afterthought. But the foundation of what we and this Houston cricket scene represents today were laid almost 4 to 5 decades ago.
No question.
By many legends of the stature like Yogesh. When Brian I arrived in Houston and I started playing local cricket, we'll come back to it after this delivery. Nice and full, and it's crushed through the cover. Sweeper cover is getting across. Keeps it to 2. So around the 2008 or 9 time frame, I arrived to a league of red ball and white clothing with 2 different seasons of T20s. Were just starting out. First or second season of T20 for the first time was happening in Houston. I joined a club called Memorial Cricket Club. And as a youngster in that club, I was told about the rich history, the model club framework it had built over the years. And one of the legends of the club I was mentioned as too was Brian Walters, amongst the likes of Michael Greathead, Keith Tushingham, Herman Giddies.
Yeah.
And of course, right around the same time, we had the likes of now the officiating panel head of the HPL, Owen Brown, who captained me in my first couple of seasons. Jermaine Levine and his dad, Nat Levine. Phil Potter. So Memorial was known as a model club for its diversity.
Yep.
It was its logo was the colors of the Lone Star State, and it represented what Texas stood for. And it was, I think, the club after a legacy of 30 years wrapped up its operations, and it's not in existence anymore. But Brian, you were one of the legendary members of Memorial Cricket Club, and want to tell us something about cricket back in those days and the kind of competition and the culture we were brewing in this cricket league in the city?
What is most, to pardon the pun, memorable about Memorial Cricket Club is that it almost was like the United Nations of cricket teams. There were members from pretty much every international cricketing country, certainly several from the Caribbean, Nat, Jermaine, Herman, and the other names that you mentioned. But we had Aussies, we had British men, we had people from throughout the UK, we had people from South Africa. And the interesting thing is, in Houston, I don't know of any other context in which people from that varied backgrounds would be seen coming together for any reason. And the best thing about it is that the results on the cricket field was only secondary to the camaraderie that existed in the side. And, you know, you'd involve the wives and the girlfriends, and they'd come and they'd hang out at the field, and they would, you know, play a little bit of music. I will say maybe the Jamaicans took advantage of the music being allowed to be played loud at Tom Bass Park, but we all enjoyed being with each other. And so it was just a matter of time before, for example, later on when we started going to Sarasota, Florida to play in the annual six-a-side tournament. That also became just a 5 or 6 day party where some cricket was also played. Oh, looking for a big sweep there, Saqlain Haider. You see, that was the first time you saw the switch hit. But it became a real celebration of camaraderie, of togetherness and love. And I count every single one of those gentlemen who were with us at Memorial as my closest friends on the planet. Even though several have moved away back to their countries of origin, several no longer live in this country. And, you know, of course, one or two, as happens in life, one or two of them have been lost. but I can tell you that those relationships and those friendships that were fostered over those years will remain with me forever.
The way I feel that this continues and the reverse sweep is out, doesn't connect it that very well,
Yeah.
but goes across for a single. The way I felt about Memorial Cricket Club since it wrapped up its operation and is not in existence, but continues to be in all our memories, I think you couldn't have summed up any better what Memorial Cricket Club stood for, what the founding principles of that club were. And cricket used to be a lot different. The stakes weren't as high. It
Yes.
used to be a bunch of friends having good times at a ballpark, and after that going to the Richmond Arms pub for fish and chips and some beers. So that's the tradition we used to brew. And another
Oh
very
my
interesting
goodness.
thing was back in those days, it was a league which was for recreational weekend cricketers. We didn't have a lot of professional cricketers around. We did have the likes of a young Ryan Corns, Rafe Kazi, who were playing for
Oh
the
my
national
goodness,
team
yes.
at that point in time, and Andre Rowe used to steam in
Oh,
at 90 miles per hour.
yes.
But besides that, those clubs were funded by members. Everyone was paying their membership dues for
Mhm.
the year. There was a finance sheet which everyone used to have access to. And I've kind of, if I must admit, I've kind of, a lot of those principles are what I've tied together. And Memorial Cricket Club tends to live on through those founding principles, in my opinion, through the Houston Premier League, or financial transparency and all those things. I have to admit I've picked from seniors like Michael Greathead and the way they used to run that club.
Boy, I wasn't expecting to go down memory lane, but those names that you're calling right now are some of the people who I think are most instrumental in forming the backbone of what developed into, let's say, a cricketing lifestyle for me.
It's getting deep, Brian. It's getting emotional. I might have to put the mic away and take a moment. In all seriousness, that's how close
Sure.
it used to be, and that's how the cricket scene used to be back in the days. Obviously, it's a start of a new chapter for cricket in the U.S. It's getting it's kind of knocking on new doors. It's venturing into new avenues. It's getting bigger. A lot of big players are coming through the ranks. But I think those times are now to be cherished as we embark on this new journey with minor league and major league and private tournaments like the Houston Premier League. But always remember where we came from.
Very, very well said. So going back to where we are in this game, the equation has gotten worse for the Houston Kings since we started talking. The required rate before that delivery was up to 16.55. So a very steep hill to be climbed. And in fact, they are now scoring at the rate of 7.29, which is not nearly enough. So going back to our chat on YouTube, Suraj Chowdhury said several minutes ago, 100 plus runs victory margin. Based on current evidence, I don't know that 100 runs will capture it, but I think unless the captain really does something special here, that there's a pretty huge defeat that is on the cards.
I think if Saqlain gets in his element, he could really cut down on that deficit. And the thing with batsmen like Saqlain is he totally we'll come back to it after this delivery. It's straight up in the air. The fielder from cover just nearly gets there. A shy at the stumps, and they get another run. It's going to be
And the
overthrows.
bonus run.
So they get 3 for what should have likely been an out. Yeah, the point I was making about Saqlain is with his improvisational play, he can force captains to change their plans. He can create a lot of confusion in the fielding side about field placements, about bowling plans. That's what he brings to the table. At the end of 9, it's 67 for 2.
So back in the action here, Nitish Kumar continuing from the forest end. The first delivery lofted down to deep sweeper on the offside, and that allows them to run through for a single. Saqlain Haider. Oh my goodness, drives it right back to Nitish Kumar. 9 times out of 10, you would expect Nitish Kumar to have taken that. A much more straightforward return catch than the spectacular one that was taken earlier. But Saqlain Haider gets a life. And there is a reverse sweep. Oh, look at this. It may run away for 4. Going down to the boundary right here in front of us, and it goes away for 4. So after having been gifted with a life, Saqlain Haider breaks out the reverse sweep and gets 4 in the bargain.
That's what I was saying, that when he starts these improvisational shots, it becomes really difficult and confusing at the same time for the captain and the field. It looked like Kamran Sheikh didn't enjoy that tease of a chase, and that's a missed opportunity. My goodness, that was a big wicket.
Wow.
We have again been able to get you a replay. So let's see how that went down after this delivery. We'll come back to it. Nitish continues to Saqlain, and that's guided to short third, and they get across for a single. So now let's take a quick look at that missed stumping. Nice and easy from Nitish. Nicely flighted. Saqlain comes down the track and misses it, and unfortunately just didn't stick. As Shayan Jahangir just want that to stick in the webbing of his gloves, which wasn't the case. A little unfortunate, but Saqlain lives to fight another day.
Well, I mentioned that Nitish Kumar would have backed himself to take that return catch 9 times out of 10. 999 times out of 1,000, I think Shayan Jahangir would have backed himself to take that stumping. For him, at his standard, that's a pretty straightforward opportunity. Interesting. So Suraj wants to know predictions for both of us. Who are the 2 teams to play in the finals? Well, I'll gladly admit that you know the composition of the teams way better than me, and anything that I say would just be rank conjecture and guessing. So I'll ask the person who I think will have a more educated guess. Who, not necessarily who you're rooting for the finals, but who do you expect to be in the finals?
That's a difficult one, because there's a commentator's perspective and there's an organizer's perspective. Combining the 2, I would take the safe route and say, let's leave it for tomorrow.
That is an even worse political answer than the one you gave earlier.
No, to be honest, it's been so even Stevens, because the teams who are heading into the semifinals, all of them have performed like absolute champions. We have seen the Stars; they've been super clinical in the last 2 games. So have been Stallions. Looking at this game and the previous 2 games they have played, this is up in the air, and that's a lucky catch.
How lucky is he? That catch is taken by that fielder running in from backward square leg, And that is the end of Arir Ali. I want to point something out.
That's
and
out.
this is for those kids who are watching.
That's
Even though
out.
apologies today, because of the windy
That's
conditions,
out.
we're not able to have someone actually
out.
posted on the
That's out.
above the side screens with
That's
the
out.
movable cameras. So you didn't necessarily see
That's
that catch
out.
taken. But he ran in far enough to attempt to take that catch at chest height. And initially, he thought he had it, but it bobbled out of his hands. But then he had a second chance to then take it at waist height, which is why the coaches will tell you try to take that catch, if you have time, as high up as possible. That if you miss on the first attempt, you potentially have a second attempt to grab that ball before it goes on the ground. I think that's exactly what you saw there. And no question that it's a big catch in the context of this game because it broke a partnership that not necessarily going great guns, but they were there for a while and they were maybe starting to be frustrating more than anything else. And those types of catches, in let's say if it's a bigger situation or a more desperate situation, those are the things that can change a match.
Absolutely, Brian. And it looked like he was never able to steady himself. He was still on the move. And that kind of reminds me of something Virat Kohli, who is the pinnacle of fitness for cricketers, said in one of the interviews. We'll come back to it after this ball. Nice and full, and it crashed straight down the ground. Mid-off, who was inside the 30-yard circle, makes a diving effort to stop that. So the Virat Kohli point, he talks a lot about his fitness, the work he puts in leading into games, and the regiment he has for his fitness and diet. And he especially mentioned in one of the interviews that when a fielder runs at a ball and he's trying to make a catch, he makes a diving effort, he misses the catch, everyone is going to applaud and say, great effort, move on. But again, that's a long topic. I'll come back to it again. And this is driven beautifully by Saqlain. Mid-off is not going to cut it off. It goes straight down the ground for a beautiful boundary. Saqlain is in his element. So coming back to that topic, what Kohli did mention was, no one's looking at your acceleration, the work you've done on your sprinting technique, and that fraction of a second you're saving with that fitness work you've done. Because a different fielder in that same situation might have arrived much sooner, steadied himself, and make it look like an easy catch. So that's the value of fitness and being disciplined, sleeping right, working on your diet, working on just your gym regiment. All that does make a big difference.
What a great point. And sometimes you can get the impression that cricket is not necessarily for the fit guys. And this is an attempted sweep. Not sure exactly why they're appealing. That came off the toe end of the bat, if I'm not mistaken. Well, okay. Quick second there. I thought he was raising a finger to show him giving out, umpire Myron James. But I think he was indicating to his partner that they're the number of balls that have been bowled in the over. But you can easily score a 50 with the bat and then give up that almost that many runs in the field if you don't have the fitness. By the same token, you can only score 10 or 15 runs with the bat, but the number that you save in the field or the number of opportunities that you create can actually, the net difference of your impact on the game will be exactly what we're talking about now.
Now look at this walk in the park from Saqlain Haider.
Wow.
That's some bravery, and that's a lot of confidence.
Yes, it
A
is.
seamer is running at you, and you're walking down the pitch to him.
And this is struck away for 4 more through extra cover. So I'll tell you what, Saqlain Haider is not going to die wandering. He's going to put every effort in here to make sure that his team gets as close as possible to the target.
End of over number 11. 85 for 3 are Houston Kings. Be right back with this ad. Turmeric, Indian Cuisine and Bar are the proud sponsors of Houston Premier League 2023. They are a new establishment located in Katy, Texas, right across from Costco Wholesale, one of the most prominent landmarks in Katy. Do check them out for private dine-ins, for your takeouts, your catering needs, and your private events. Mention Houston Premier League and avail special discounts. Turmeric Indian Cuisine and Bar, proud sponsors of Houston Premier League 2023. We're back live with over number 12 in this innings. 7 overs to go, and the required rate is creeping in towards 20 runs an over.
Fielder in the cover is just diving over that ball. Easily could have stopped it for no run, but then they concede two. So Munir, and for everyone who's listening, I regret to inform you that we are in the last over that I'll be with you today. As mentioned earlier, I'm going to make a mad dash back to Austin to see my son play in his football match, because we don't use the word soccer unless we're talking to non-soccer people. So after these next 3 deliveries and that ball is knocked into the outfield for a couple more, after these next 3, I will take leave of you, and then maybe you and Bhaskar can close things out. You know, you think of Bhaskar if you're talking about American sports, baseball. Bhaskar is like the closer who's in the bullpen just waiting for the opportunity for, you know, the old veteran starter who who's starting to look shaky, and at some point the manager is going to go to the bullpen. Okay, Brian, I've seen enough. Bhaskar, come on, please. You need you need 100-mile-an-hour heat painting the edge of the plates. So Bhaskar, after the next the next 2 deliveries, I'll give you the pleasure of closing things out with this young man. Saqlain Haider, in the meantime, interesting. The helmet has come off, and he's just going to be going hell for leather here, I would think. Bang down the ground. And I think they'll get 2 if they run hard. Yep, they come very easily back for the second. In fact, my apologies. That was not Saqlain Haider on strike. That was, in fact... Yes, thank you. So I told you the manager needed to go to the bullpen because the starter is looking shaky. And no pressure, but I'll be listening to you on the drive back to Austin, all right? Just so you know. He's back. There should be another couple, and in fact, easily they jog the second. So a long way to go in this match. About another 6 overs after this one. And somehow they need to figure out a way to score. 131 runs in 6 overs. Top edge. This is not going to make it any easier. Nitish Kumar is not going to drop this. Straightforward catch, the backward point. And I think this would be the perfect time for me to exit stage right. The new pitchers in from the bullpen. Bhaskar, over to you.
Thank you so much, Brian. Good luck to Jaden for his football match. And definitely, as I said, feedback is welcome. So.
So there's Bhaskar joining me for the rest of this game as Omer departs. Was trying to go big.
Thanks, Munir.
Just got beaten by the turn. And ended up just skying it up in the air. So that's the 4th wicket down. And under 21 Mustafa Memon joins Captain Saqlain Haider. But still 129 runs required. And, you know, all of you are keen to get updates from that other crucial game going on between UMMC Knight Riders and Raiders. Raiders have been chasing 164. Currently, after 15 overs, they're 105 for 4. So they require 59 runs in 3 overs. And in the middle are Obus Pinar, who's batting on 42 of 29 deliveries, and Calvin Savage, who has just walked out and he's on 2 runs of 2 deliveries. So it's a steep chase in the last 3 overs. The Knight Riders would feel that they have a great chance of being that fourth team in the semifinals. But with cricket, you never know. A required rate of 20 is highly unlikely.
True.
So, in the meantime, I would also request your leave from the commentary box and pass it on to Bhaskar Katula, who's gonna be seeing you through to the end of this game.
Thank you, Moir. Houston Kings 97 for 4. 13th over in progress. Saqlain Haider and Mustafa Mehman is batting. Kings need 125 in next 5.5 overs. That was driven to fine leg. It was a well picked up shot by Saqlain Haider for 4 runs. Saqlain started this over with a high note. First 2 balls for 4. And if you see here, another U21, Mark Sahai Babu comes to the attack. He's a very promising upcoming youngster in the Houston circle. Bit short of a length, straight to point. It was a great fielding. Keeper appeals for a run out. The appeal was turned down by umpire. I think the batsman comfortably reached the crease. I would say that there was a run out missed chance by Stallions. Mark to continue. Well bowled by Mark. It was a fuller Yorker line. Batsman tried to slog. He totally missed that. And 1 run to a bye. There was a shot of length delivery driven to mid wicket. Nitish Kumar fielded well there to restrict to 1 run. Good comeback by Mark, although starting with the 2 boundaries. Rest of the balls were driven to singles. Last balls to come. Slower delivery. That ends the over. Houston Kings move to 104 for 4 after 13 overs. Five more overs to go, and Kings needs 118. A huge total put in by Stallions earlier today in the first innings. Walkers to continue from the north end. River swept, but no luck. Strike to the fielder by Saqlain Haider for no run. As we all know, Saqlain is very handy with the river sweeps. He gets most of the runs from that. Handy player. Step down the wicket. Strike to the bowler. Bowler fields it. Walker started the over very good with 2 dots. Another river sweep. Lofted shot towards to point region. Nitish Kumar started to take the catch. He tried his level best. The jump was perfect. Unfortunately, it went to 4 runs. Again, that was a river sweep from Saqlain Haider. He almost cut to the covers for 1 run. I would say it was a good. It's a good bowling by Wakas to start it with 2 dot balls. Just 5 runs in this over. 2 more balls to go. Wakas continues. Mustafa Memon slogs. And it's a great shot towards the long off region for all the way to a boundary. 4 runs. Mustafa comes with the last ball of this over. Another slog drive in the air. Fielder tried to catch it. It's catch. In the covers region. Well timed catch, and Wakas bowled an awesome bowling here. In the context of the game, 8 runs in T20 and a wicket is good bowling. 5th wicket. Kings lost the 5th wicket for the score of 113 after 14 overs. Would say Kings continuously losing wickets in regular intervals to chase the score, mammoth score of 222. I would say 23. That was the end of the over. Mark comes to attack again from the 290, highway 290 end. New batter comes to the crease, Mohib. I would say Saqlain is the lone warrior there, scoring runs, and he has a good intent to score as per the target. Saqlain, mark to bowl to Saqlain Haider. Well bowled, almost it was a catch, but it fairly driven by Saqlain. Fielder is complaining on the sun, but it was a good ball, slowish delivery. For the 4 runs. Again, this over, Saqlain started with a 4. And he moves to 50. Excellent batting by Saqlain Haider. And well deserved 50. Driven stride for 2 runs. Well fielded in there by long off fielder for 2 runs. Reverse sweep again to the gap, to the third man region. He bisected the fielders inside the circle to create the gap for 4 runs. Again, that was 10 runs of the over, first 3 balls. Excellent batting by Saqlain here. As Munir and Brian was mentioning, it is a very cold day here with the heavy winds. And another reverse sweep shot all the way for 4 runs. It's like a exact replica of previous shot for 4 runs. This is an expensive over here. It's already 14 runs from 4 balls. Fielder moved back to third man now to protect that boundary. Driven straight. Fielder fields it in the long on for one run. Mark ball, slow ball. That was a clever bowling there. He saw batsman trying to hit and changed his delivery. Oh, sorry about that. I think it's a no ball. Maybe for overstepping. Umpire Myron signal as a no ball. And a free hit. Batsman tried to slog, but it's straight to long on fielder for 1 run. That's the over. Houston Kings 130 for lose of 5 wickets. 3 more overs to go. 18 balls to go. And Houston Kings need a huge 92 runs to win this match. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Forecast to continue. Third over. He started with the dot. And excellent shot and excellent fielding there by Mark. He stopped 3 runs for his team. It was a fast hit drive. He was there at the boundary. A long off, and he just dive and he stopped 3 runs there. And again the reverse sweep in the gap towards to the point area where they don't have any fielder for 4 runs. This is great bowling by Wakas. Saqlain tried to play sweep, but it's straight to the fielder for no run. Full toss, driven to covers. Excellent running by Saqlain again. It was nowhere to, and he ran first and fast to sneak. Second run. Excellent cricket by Saqlain there. Again, loud uphill. Loud uphill, and he tried to reverse sweep. Bowler thinks that he got him, but umpire thinks other way. Maybe pitched outside the leg. That made a doubt to the umpires. However, the shot was on, and it was straight onto the pads. It's always a doubt creates with the bowler to appeal for LBW. That's a over. That's a good over by Okas for 7 runs. In the context of T20 game, 7 runs is considered as economical over. That takes to 137 after a loss of 5 wickets for Houston Kings. 12 legal deliveries to go to close up this match. Nitish Kumar comes to the attack from 290 and well bowled. He tried to. There was a misfield to give a batsman 1 run there. He saw batsman coming in and he bowled through the black hole there. Good, smart bowling by Nitish Kumar there. Continues. Again, it's reverse sweep in the air. Fielder coming around and take a take a good high catch. Excellent batting, excellent innings by Saqlain Haider. He gave a catch to the covers fielder playing a reverse sweep, and he scored 68 runs. That's a sixth wicket gone for Houston Kings. Score is 138. We'll be right back. Welcome back. That was a good slow full toss delivery, which made Saqlain Haider to play that reverse sweep, which got him onto the edge, created that catch. With the wind, I would say the fielder took a very good catch. The new batsman comes, Nabil. Short of a delivery, and he tricked him. He got bowled. Nabil's tried to slog that, but it's right onto the stumps. To lose 7th wicket for Houston Kings. No score changed. The new batsman walks in, Dylan Joseph. Nitish to continue his over. Excellent over, and he's on hat trick. Let's see, he gets the hat trick. That was a shot of a length. Cut towards to sweeper cover for 1 run. Excellent over by Nitish. 2 more balls to go. After this, there's 1 more over to finish this innings. He comes round the wicket. Nitish, he's a left-hander. He's bowling too. It was a good ball. Not giving a width so that batsman free up and hits. I think it went to a bye. That's a over. I think there's an issue with the scoring here. Umpire minor signal. It's a over. So we have one last over to go. Houston Kings 139 for a loss of 7 wickets. I think it's close of just a formality last over, because Kings need 83 more runs. Reverse swept again in the gap. There is no third man, which gives batsman 4 runs. Wokas bowling last over, and he bowled 3 overs for 29 runs, and he picked up 2 wickets. There was a good anticipation creation of that shot by Mohib. It's a reverse swept, and where he saw no fielder in there, and he picked the right gap for 4 runs. Wokas continues. Slugs to that, an excellent shot. Cow corner region for all the way for 6 runs by Mohib. Great shot. It was in his slot all the way for 6. He started this over. First 2 balls, 10 runs. Wokas to continue. Again, short of a length, and batsman tried to step up. Just give only one. Will just give batsman only 1 run. He didn't time well. Well bowled. Batsman played through for 1 to give Mohib strike. Wokas to continue. Mohib. Again, Mohib tried to reverse sweep. It took a leading edge, and no fielder was there. It landed in a no man's land for 1 run. Last ball of the innings coming in. That was played, and it's all over. Houston Kings scored 152 for loss of 7 wickets. Stallions won comfortably. With a huge margin. As you all know, to start with this innings, there was a good batting display by Stallions. They scored a mammoth total of 221, 18 overs, losing 6 wickets. The top scorer would be Shayan Jahangir Saqlain, scored 80 of 42 balls, followed by Kamran Sheikh, 74 runs of 35 balls. Well supported by Ashwan Shah of 22 of 8 balls, which got them the score of 221 of loss of 6 wickets. The pick of the bowlers for Kings, Ehsan Siddique, Dylan Joseph got 2 wickets each. Ali Bangash, very expensive, 58 in 4 overs for 1 wicket. And Houston Kings started chasing 222, but there was not aggressive innings in the start. The high scorer for Kings were Saqlain Haider, 68. Pick up the bowlers for Stallions, Nitish Kumar with the 3 wickets for 26 runs. And Salim Waqas, well bowled by him, got 2 wickets for the 32 runs. Stallions won by 69 runs. Thanks everyone for joining us. So as you all know, tomorrow it's gonna be semi-finals, and we're gonna come with the live streaming for all both the semi-finals and final tomorrow. Please do join. We wanted to thank our sponsors, Turmeric, Indian Cuisine and Bar. Signing off from Cricket Complex Preview.